right, welcome back to Getting Past the Premium, everybody. Today we have an exciting episode with Danie Senske from Bland & Associates, and she is a tax director who works with clients, manages a team as an advisor to her clients. And so we have a unique perspective again on our industry from her and how she works with her clients, how we can relate that to what we do on a daily basis. So enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Getting Past the Premium podcast, where we focus on breaking down risk management problems bit by bit until we find a solution. If you would like to discuss anything you hear on GPP with us, please reach out using the links in the description. Enjoy today's episode.
All right, well, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be good to get your perspective on being an advisor and you're part of the industry and how we can relate that to what we do. So why don't you give kind of everybody the background on who you are, what you do at Bland?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a tax director. I also work in the tax department. So specializing in basically, all areas of tax, from small business to startups, really heavy concentration in real estate and the high net worth taxpayers. Okay. I've been at Bland since 2010, so time flies when you're having fun. I'm also a CPA, Omaha native, born and raised here, graduate of UNO, so go Mavs.
There you go.
And so that's what I do at Bland. I'm also, I should say I'm treasurer on our internal nonprofit Bland Cares Foundation as well. So
that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
maybe tell everybody kind of a little bit about Bland as a whole, because I know you guys have a little different model in some cases, and
sure, yes,
I think that's good for everybody to understand.
We have kind of two divisions. Your typical, CPA firm that does the traditional type accounting, the tax compliance, the bookkeeping, the payroll, the audit piece. But we also do a fair amount of government consulting and contracts with the government for example, Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. There's just a whole division within the firm. So that sets us apart from, I think, some local CPA firms. We also do, valuation work and consulting for our clients on various matters, from forecasting, tax planning, and all of that. So Bland started in the 70s, and we are named after the founder, Jerry Bland, so Bland & Associates. As of January 2020, we are now 100% employee-owned, so we are an ESOP.
Wow.
We are actually the first CPA firm ESOP in Nebraska. Our partners actually got legislation enacted so that we could become an ESOP, which is really cool.
Wow.
So that's new. We have an internal nonprofit that's employee-run, employee-funded. So we have the Bland Cares Foundation as well. We found that it was part of our mission. We're very focused on our employees, the culture, but also giving back to the community. So I think we have 80 employees now as well. So pretty big growth in the last, 11 years that I've been there. I think I started when there was less than 30.
Wow.
So
awesome. Yeah, totally. I think that it's just good for everybody to think you guys, again, you're in an industry that is similar to insurance, been around a long time, can be very antiquated in some degrees, but have looked at things a little bit differently.
Sure.
And how you work with clients. So maybe I'd love your perspective on that piece is, knowing that the traditional CPA and which is still a lot of what you have to do.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
how do you guys, look at things a little differently?
Take it a step farther. So we will still do all the tax compliance, the payroll forms and the tax returns and all that good stuff. But we really try and be more of that proactive approach to accounting versus reactive, getting in front of our clients, having those conversations. What are their needs? What are their wants? What do they want to accomplish? And then being that trusted advisor, like we were talking about earlier, and helping them, see through, whether it's a startup or, a business acquisition or what have you. So we really try and take it a step further in that regard. And then also kind of I find ourselves a lot like the liaison between other connections. So any good business owner or person, they have multiple people. They've got your insurance, they've got your accounting, they've got your attorney, and it's kind of bridging the gap on those pieces that maybe they don't have. You don't have a banker, well, let's root that in. And then kind of a well-oiled machine and making sure that everybody's talking to each other.
Well, I think that's so important. just to elaborate on one thing that you said there, the proactive piece, because we talk a lot about that on the risk management side. Specifically, insurance tends to be very reactive.
Yeah.
Taxes tend to be very reactive in a lot of regards. So how do you guys kind of take that more proactive approach with clients?
Yeah, so we actually have something that's called a bland plan. So it's like a little timeline. Jeremy Lowe would be so happy I'm talking about this right now. So it's this time. I wish I would have brought the marketing materials too so you could actually see and visualize. But it really is like a plan, and we break it up the 12 months of the year. So, you have your prime time, which like your January through 4/15 is like, okay, you're really just cranking out returns, the tax compliance, all that good stuff. Then you've got, your 4/15 to like your summer, which is a little bit more of, I would say pre-COVID, it's more of your not so much pressure on deadlines and what have you. So you're getting in front of your clients early. Okay, now we're 6 months into the year. How are things going? How are the next 6 months of the year? And kind of starting to have those preliminary conversations regarding their business and what they want to accomplish in that tax year or maybe the next tax year or what have you. And then you've got, third quarter, which is your really heavy. Okay, now we're 10 months into the year. Let's do a look back, see what we've done the last 10 months. How are things doing? And then start looking at some real life projections as we go into the next tax year. Okay, now we're getting down to the end of the year. You have all of this cash. Maybe you want to buy some equipment. Maybe you want to do this. Maybe you want to start a retirement plan. And then at the end of the year, you're just basically wrapping everything up. You're bringing in a lot of new business at that time. It's a good time where people really start thinking, I probably want to start looking for a new advisor or a new CPA, new tax preparer. And so then you kind of start back all over again January. And so that's how we handle the bland plan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Just thinking through it differently, which is what we talk about a lot on the show, the same in our industry.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's so, like he said, I feel like the tax game in a lot of ways are reactive.
Yeah.
Or at least traditionally, right?
Sure.
You get a lot of accountants that are sitting there in November and December and they're saying, looking in the rearview mirror on the cake that's been baked. And then at that point, like, how do we maximize it?
And then, and so that does happen. And it has the last few years, because I can tell you with all honesty, because of deadline changes, you now all of a sudden have a filing for that takes a whole year. You're 2 months now. It was July 15th, and so you're already a little bit behind. And so you try and fit it all in, and then tax law changes and what have you. And it is kind of just the name of the game. But certainly, getting in front of your clients ahead of time and having those conversations sets you up for success, even if it's in November. But ideally, you'd want to be a little bit sooner than that to help do some more planning. But yeah, and then rather than, okay, hey, we just prepared your return in March, and you did this, and we had no idea, and had we known, we could have saved you a lot of money. Yeah. And at that point, it's too late.
It's done.
It's done. Can't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I want to get back to that here in a minute, but it's something we've talked about on this podcast at least a couple times around taking this older, antiquated insurance industry where it's product and driven and transactional and and we're trying to bring this advisory mentality to the industry.
We've talked about that?
Well, I think 27, 28 times now. We've mentioned, that there's a lot of studies that are published all the time that says CPAs are the most regarded advisors sitting around the table for their clients. I guess, number one, how and why? Yeah. And then what are you guys doing to put yourself in that light?
Of being that trusted advisor. It's building relationships with your clients. And so knowing your client, what do you want? What are your goals? Did
a light bulb go off?
What do you want to accomplish?
It just sounds like a word we talk about a lot.
So, and that really is the truth. And I don't know if that sounds cliche or what have you, but that really is the truth of the matter. And it's being available and, having those touches with your clients, having the conversations, having lunch and coffee, whatever, an email here or there, and really getting a feel for where they want to go with their business. Because we know in the accounting profession, that's even where our industry is going. A lot of things are getting automated, and it's really now how do we add value to our clients in the consulting side? Be that advisor.
Yeah.
Get away so much from the tax compliance.
It's not processing a return anymore.
Right, exactly. And those are things that we still will have to do as long as they keep writing the tax code the way that they're writing it. But and it's providing those extra services for our clients because that's what they need. Especially look at a startup.
Yeah.
From start to finish until they grow their business, their job as the business owner is to grow the business. And so that's where folks like yourselves and CPAs come in because we can help with those other pieces that is not a good use of their time. We take that off the table for them so they can focus on the growth of their business. So,
it's so interesting to me to think about because we have the same language and we say that we're kind of doing the same thing and whatnot from a relationship and advisory perspective, but yet you survey clients and the outcome is completely different on who they want sitting around the table from an advisory perspective. And it's kind of, it's almost making me is it that the IRS is so damn scary that I have to have somebody that's sitting beside me walking into that fire, which is interesting to me because then it's is risk not scary? We're dealing with literal fires.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know. What's your opinion of that from your seat? Is it kind of like there's taxes are just scary and I'm I need somebody to help? Or the other thing I was thinking about is there's no products in your world.
Right.
Which could position things differently maybe. What are your...
So I don't know necessarily if it's that the IRS is scary. I think it's more that, things are complex. And especially if you look at it from a tax standpoint, especially in the last few years, it's like rapid fire of all the things that even small business owners are faced with, and they don't even probably have the capabilities they're already probably working 80 hours a week to grow their business and to set aside all this time to try and research X, Y, and Z of the tax code. I think that might be more of the challenge is just the time and understanding of, this is what I need to do here. They're the expert in their area, whereas we're the expert over here.
Yeah.
And so for them, for business owners, even high net worth taxpayers, it's worth the cost because now you have somebody who that's what they do 24/7.
Do you guys do anything from the standpoint of because that's the other thing that we battle in the risk management industry is that there's nothing that says here it's really hard to quantify value where
buying a product you hope to never use at the end of the day.
Yeah, from a tax perspective, if you do the right planning and you make the right moves and you got enough.
Yeah, you're talking big dollars potentially.
Which you could easily quantify.
Right.
Huh.
Certainly.
I think that's a lot of it. When you think about it, is your CPA is hopefully trying to help you save money, and people view buying insurance as, I want to get it for as cheap as possible because I don't want to spend the money. And it's reframing that. It's changing how people look at that.
Sure.
I think is important. But I also think it goes back to what you said, the light bulb moment or whatnot, right? I was talking about, but relationships at the end of the day, because, and it's so funny to relate what we talk about a lot to the tax, I'll just say the taxes in general, the accounting world, because you can look at it very similar light. Just processing tax returns is you don't really need a relationship. Come in, give me your information, we put it in, see you later. Yeah. Kind of like selling an insurance product,
used to be the value proposition of 100%. The CPA, right?
Same in the insurance industry, right? Yeah. Where you had to go to somebody to buy your insurance product. Yeah. And that's no longer the case. So it's so funny how I feel like there's so many different correlations there. But to Ryan's point, it's just odd that, not odd, but the CPA has naturally gotten into that trusted advisor role, and we're trying to help change that insurance agent to a similar deal or to a similar light. But I'd be curious to know kind of how you guys though approach what we kind of refer to as the quarterback, or if you're that trusted advisor, you are the one naturally bringing other advisors to the table.
Yeah, definitely.
Curious your thoughts on how do you guys have kind of a systematic way you do that? is it up to the individual?
Yeah, so like we rely on our own our network. So I'm going out and I'm networking and I'm meeting with, a ton of individuals in those industries. And a lot of times then I look at my client and it's like, okay, X, Y, and Z would be a great fit for you. And then I may have some other people that might be a better fit for a different client, So really it's not like, okay, these are our list of people that we're going to network to. It's really, who I'm going out and meeting as an in charge on my accounts and my clients. And I certainly we lean on each other within the firm, like the other directors and partners and managers, and kind of say, okay, hey, I have somebody looking for this role. Do you have somebody in mind that I can reach out to?
Do you get from like as Bland as the company, do you guys have any way that is that like a Danie thing where you just like say, I know this is important to my clients, that I build a big network and can bring these
no,
advisors? Is that how you guys do business?
Oh, absolutely. That's how we do business.
So talk to us about how new CPA coming in.
Yeah.
How do you train that? How do you how do you work that system?
So like the leadership within Bland has always been really good about this, and they'll host like a networking type event. It's kind of what we internally call it, and bring some folks in and maybe bring our up and comers in the industry and kind of start to have that relationship building. This is how we do it. And if it's a good fit, it kind of naturally progresses. But so we'll do like in-house happy hours, or we'll go somewhere, what have you, just to try and get those newer accountants and staff that kind of exposure and connections. And so if I'm going to go have a lunch with an attorney or a banker, I'm going to bring, so-and-so that maybe just started, so they can start and build that relationship too.
Yeah. And then is it in working with the client, is it more about just training that new person on your process, the Bland plan, and how you guys are going to work,
yes.
so that they identify the need to, you don't have a banker that's doing the right stuff. You should talk to this person.
Yep. I mean, client service and the client, that whole piece is like engraved into our culture at Bland. I mean, we focus on that. We give even our brand new staff in charge roles, which and if you're wondering what that is, so like in charge managing that client, being that, like talking to the clients, being that point person, that a lot of, I think, accounting firms don't always give to newer staff until later. So like we start that from the bottom, like give them that client service experience. And so we kind of build that into how we operate.
Yeah. Well, I think that's awesome. And I think we're missing the boat in a lot of regards if we view that as a threat and I make this referral to a bank or whatever and they screw it. Like that's how a lot of people can view that.
Oh, sure.
That it's a threat if somebody screws something up or whatever. But I think it's completely missing the boat on a huge value to your client.
Absolutely.
And just get out and vet the right people, and introduce a couple different people to solve this particular need.
Yes.
And then set it up as you're going to help the client manage this whole thing, because now you're putting yourself in that elevated position, and they're not just going to, the next person that walks in, they're not just going to look at it and say, well, I can replace my insurance guy because that guy came with, or gal, came with 8 other people that they brought to me, or whatever it is.
And the nice thing about having that network too is, so I'm familiar with these individuals and the client. And so it's like, the attorney, banker, insurance advisor, we all can talk. So we all already have an existing relationship, because at the end of the day, the worst thing you want for your clients is for their legal team, their bankers, their insurance accountant not communicating, because then you have an issue. Then, people are left out, and then come tax time, you're like, whoa, why didn't I know about that?
Which is still a massive issue.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Silos.
Yeah. It's constant today. You feel like there's firms that have literally they do all of that stuff in-house to try to solve that problem.
Sure.
And they're massive. But you go talk, 9 out of the 10 people that you go talk to still are operating in silos.
Yeah, which is no way, I think, to do. And it's not efficient.
No.
Well, and it's when your advisors to a business are not talking, they can all be giving good advice at the time. They just don't know what the other one is trying to accomplish.
From their perspective.
Yeah. Exactly. And they might not know that this piece in the tax side, oh, no, we can't do that because it could, cause issues here. So.
I've always used this example with clients as the bonding side for like a contractor.
Yeah.
If you just go and you tell your CPA, I've got this much cash sitting left over, they're going to be like, well, get rid of it. Go buy some new equipment, do whatever.
Sure.
When in reality, we need a certain level of that cash and liquid assets to get your bonding limit that you need. It's just,
because you're absolutely right. Because the CPA would say that. Oh, you're going to go invest, go do this. Yeah. Oh, you're going to go max your retirement. For sure. Absolutely.
And again, that's, it's that reactive approach
Mm-hmm.
in that case because client ends up with a much bigger year than they thought or whatever.
Yep.
Being an exit planner, I love that conversation because you're 5 years out from selling the business, and your CPA has no idea. And the year before that, they're still like, well, you need to go buy more equipment, and we're going to depreciate it all out, and da 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 da. And then the next year, it's like, wait a minute, so I have to pay ordinary income on all that depreciation that we
the recapture,
that we need to recapture.
Yeah.
And you
that's
don't know
hard.
how many times that's come back and bit a business owner. Just lack of communication between
on
professionals.
the long-term goals, like what are your goals, and having just that conversation is huge with clients. And some clients, they don't care, and they just want the biggest tax deduction, and that's what you get.
There's part of that for W-2 owners, and so, I mean that's probably why you see the value proposition shift from processing a return to consultant and advisory services that are geared towards more complex situations.
For sure, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's spot on. You know, you can relate that across all of our different industries, really. But we'll talk about it on the benefit side all the time, where if we're implementing a strategy to attract talent and we're beefing up the benefits, you know, because you need more people.
Oh, sure.
And you're going to go sell a business next year.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's a horrible idea.
Horrible, yeah.
I mean, potentially.
Yeah.
But versus saying, let's lean down the benefits, save you more cash so you can go get a higher multiple because you're selling the business in a year anyways.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just the examples of having that forward-thinking approach are across any different industry. And if we're acting as an advisor, we need to do that.
For sure. I completely agree.
So what's your definition of a good relationship with a client?
You're on today.
So it's gonna vary client by client. So when you say good relationship, do you mean like kind of elaborate on that?
Well, like picture your best relationship with a client.
Okay.
And like, what are you doing to make that your best relationship?
Oh, constant contact. I mean,
not the email software.
No, email. So email. What do you mean email software?
There's an email marketing system called Constant Contact. I was like, people don't go out and just buy Constant Contact and expect to build a good relationship.
Okay.
We're going to get all 3 of our subscribers are going to be like, you told me to go buy Constant Contact.
Okay, no.
I did it. It's like me going to...
I don't even know what that is.
I bought CrossFit shoes and I thought that's all I had to do. It turns out I actually have to go too. That's...
Oh, man. Okay.
Derailed. All right.
So I don't even know what to say now. I want to say constant.
Picture your best client relationship. What are you doing to ensure that? And then kind of like, what's your definition? Or where's the line in the sand of like, that's like, I should probably get some of these over here to be more like this other relationship.
Okay, so let's go back to the first question. So really it's, that good relationship, best client engagement. I don't know I mean, it's really the whole experience for that client. So what am I doing? So and I do this for every client too. So it's not just specific, but some always naturally fall down a different path. But nonetheless, it's, being in touch with that client regularly. So let's say I have a very large client. And so we might meet on a quarterly basis. And so it actually might even be in some instances every couple of months. And it's really staying in front of their financial situation. What is going on in your world? And then it offers me the ability to offer suggestions and solution, or, hey, have you thought about this? Have you considered this? And it's just trying to have that forward thinking in our connection. So really it comes down to contact. So rather than constant contact, I guess continued contact with that client versus just talking to them in, hey, it's February 1st, send me your tax stuff. It's ready to do tax returns, So it's really just being in touch and talking and communicating. And you might have some year where maybe they just, it's pretty easy year for them and not a lot going on. So it might just be a little bit of, hey, how things going? What have you? Hey, have you considered XYZ? Hey, this happened in the tax world. You might want to take a look at it. Mm-hmm. Where other years might be, maybe they're selling 10 different properties, and so you're heavily involved in constantly communicating and staying in front of that.
How many times do you think you touch an average client in a year?
Oh gosh, a lot. I mean, anytime. So I mean, there might be a random question or a text message or, hey, I have this quick question, or hey, what about this, or hey, I had a new baby, or hey, I'm buying a house, or hey, I want to buy this property, what do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, some clients I may only really touch twice a year: tax planning time and tax prep time. Some clients I'm maybe talking to 10 times in a year, maybe more. It just depends. It depends on the client and their situation.
What goes into it from a business model standpoint to allow you guys to be more proactive? Because a business model, like, you can have somebody who wants to be more proactive, but the business model of the company just drowns them in reactive stuff. So, like, what have you guys done to position yourselves to be more of that proactive? Because, I mean, from my experience, there's not a lot of CPAs that are reaching out in May that are saying, hey, like, I want to completely understand what's going on in your life so that we can make sure that the moves that you make between now and the end of the year set you up for success. Yeah. It's typically like, oh, hey, it's November. We should probably chat about all the stuff that's happened and then spend more money. So, like, speak to the business model side of things a little bit. Like, how have you guys positioned yourselves from that standpoint to be able to, like, train your clients and do all the things so that you can be more strategic and proactive?
Yeah, so a lot of it comes down to, I think this is the answer to your question, but, you know, we're in charge of our own schedules in a lot of ways in our clients. And so it's giving our team that autonomy, or however you say it. They guide that ship. And so we know that client service is huge. And so we value that so much. We have a net promoter score. I don't know how much you know about that. And,
well, maybe explain what it is for everybody. But
yeah, so
Ryan's acting like he knows.
So we
totally completely understand.
Okay, so the net promoter score, it's not just like a survey, but basically you're gauging your client's experience. And so there's promoters and detractors, and so it's how they rank that overall client experience, and you get it from, it shows loyalty and what have you. So anyways, and I will say this, and I'm going to toot Bland's horn here. So in the accounting industry, the net promoter score average is like 24, 25 maybe. Bland's is 84. So, I mean, that's up there with, I think Apple's is in maybe the 80s or 90s. So, yeah, so tooting our horn. Anyway, so, it's ingrained in our culture. Like, we understand the client service and client experience. And so, and I think, too, it helps, like, maybe some traditional CPA firms, the in charge on the account is maybe that partner or, that director only, and not the other members of the team. So it's a lot on just one person. And so time might be an issue, and the real factor there is maybe they don't have the capacity to reach out to everybody in May. We kind of spread that out a little bit, and granted, my new staff's not gonna be driving these meetings with clients, but I mean, they might be an in charge. They might start a conversation and kind of get it. Yeah, exactly. And it's like usually maybe our seniors and our supervisor that are a little bit lower level. And then it kind of starts guiding that. Then they reach out to the rest of the team, and so we're staying in the loop there.
Yeah. But that's really driven from strategic leadership inside the organization.
For sure.
Because I think you nailed it, right? Like a more traditional CPA firm that's operating maybe as a partnership or something, and you got the CPAs that are the ones that are doing the relationship, and like they need to have 800 clients to pay their mortgage and buy their gas for their boat and on and on and on. They don't have any other time to do anything else, to be strategic. Yeah. So it's like it's interesting. And then, we talk about that a lot, and shifting the way that we think, and
nobody's taking the time to step back and work on the business.
Yeah. We're still built, like in the insurance industry, it's like the traditional CPA. You have agents who are building individual books within this overarching machine where things like client experience, you don't hear that word. Or
everybody's trying to drive their own client experience, right? Nobody ever thinks about how do we drive it.
And that's why we have the Bland plan. I mean, like, so we put these things into place to help drive. I mean, it's just like, this is kind of our model. This is how we operate under a good, a non-COVID tax year.
So then do you have from the company level, do you have like a target market, target type of client you target or you go after, or is it Anybody, any type of business?
I mean, really, any kind of business.
Or different solutions for different types of people.
Oh, I mean, you're definitely, so that's two questions. So as far as like client industry, I mean, it's really anyone. We are there to help all different sizes, small, large, what have you. You know, if they want just client accounting services, bookkeeping, we're there. If they want just tax work, we're there. If they want to mix of both, we're there. I mean, you name it, we're pretty much doing it from a CPA standpoint. And then your question was
just kind of what you hit on. Like you have, so it's not that you only go after certain clients, or if certain clients call you, we're like, oh, you're a, physician and you don't own a business, so we're not going to help you out.
No, we
You've
would absolutely.
built solutions for those people to help, like, give them what they need to be successful at Bland.
Yes, and we've actually even started being kind of niche focused with our team, and so we've really designated the subject matter experts, as we call them, and like that's their niche, and they're experts in that. They have a lot of clients in that industry, and so they're very specialized in maybe some ins and outs that Sally over here might not know about because maybe they do a different industry. So like healthcare is a perfect example of that, because there was so much that's come out in the last 18 months related in the healthcare industry. And so we have a whole niche that's like assists and has plans to help them and guide them. And then you might have the real estate side, and there might be certain kind of plans and things that I might know in the real estate world versus someone else. So yeah, I mean, but each client, we can help them in some capacity, because at the end of the day, we know what the tax code is, and we know what their finance, we can help with the finance side and how to help them plan and navigate, certainly.
No, absolutely. I think there's just so many comparisons to a lot of what we talk about. And you guys have clearly thought through doing it differently with those clients around all of that, those avenues. And how can we be a long-term firm too? I think that's a big thing we talk about, is building a business, not a book of business, is kind of a theme that we talk about a lot.
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
But the building of a book of business would be like he was talking, four CPAs that are running a firm, and eventually it's like, well, we're kind of done. We don't really want to do this anymore, but we have nobody.
And then what's your plan?
Yeah, what are you going to do? And
that's huge right now in the CPA world. There's a lot of that. It's like thousands and thousands of firms that are just going to go away. No, because they're gone. They have no succession planning. None.
Do they sell in your industry?
They'll sell. Yeah, like other CPA firms will buy the firm, and
Yeah, that's what's happening a ton in our industry as well. And it's the same thing. It's because those that are selling, I mean, there's obviously some that can get a lot of money right now, and multiples are high, and they can sell. But a lot of it's just they don't have a plan, and they don't. They haven't thought about it. They want to retire in the next 2 years. It's too little time.
Yeah, right.
All the stuff.
Well, it's funny because the ones that are acquiring are the ones that have spent Uber's amount of time working on the business.
Sure.
And then they're going out and they're acquiring these books.
Yeah.
And they don't care what happens within the books, because they just know that if they acquire a certain amount of revenue and they insert them into their model, that they can drive a certain margin.
Right.
And it's like, well, dude, you just sold because you were a symptom of not working on the business and being that advisor and making that shift on your own.
Sure.
So you didn't have a choice.
Yeah, so true.
Has this always this model at Bland always been how you guys operated? I know you said you joined the firm in 2010, but or has this been a shift since you've been there?
I mean, no, it's always been, I feel like, how we've operated. We've had great leadership at Bland. Jeremy and the rest of the partners have just really driven Bland since they took over from the founder, Jerry, in a great direction.
Okay, so then you may or may not know the answer to this question, and that's fine. But, again, if you're thinking of that traditional CPA firm or traditional CPA individually, what would be the biggest thing they could do to kind of make that shift to more of that? All the things we've talked about, proactive, building deep relationships, all those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, if time's an issue, it's trying to leverage what resources you have to automate what you can automate. So then that cuts out. So like, are you doing too many manual processes? So let's automate what we can. So yeah, it's an investment. So then that frees you up some time to potentially spend more with your clients and adding those value-added services. Because, we know certain 1040s, you could easily maybe automate. There's technology is getting so advanced in our industry, and that would be like the first step, I think, is like, what can you leverage technology wise to then give yourself more time? And then also looking at your clients and seeing like, okay, are these all still a good fit for me? Are these good clients for my practice, for my firm? And then just starting to have the dialogue with them, have the discussion, start just seeing how things are going and what their goals are. And so I think the biggest thing in the CPA world is even pricing some of those services too, because it's easy to price a tax return because it's like, okay, this is a tax return. And it's like, how do you factor in all of these other services that you're going to do? And so it's finding the value. That's the biggest thing, is what's the value to the client here? And then you can justify X, Y, Z.
That's a great way to think about it. I mean, that's, again, something on the insurance risk management side that very few have thought about, because we're typically, not all the time, but typically paid a commission through a product, right? By an insurance company. And so nobody thinks about where's the revenue coming from, because that's where it's coming from.
Right.
The value is directly sitting on the product, which isn't the value.
And we have to think about that differently. There are ways to do it, and more firms are talking about it, which is good. I was going to go back to the Net Promoter Score real quick, because there's a super interesting deal that this blows my mind that I've been doing some research on. It's called Dana for agents. It's specific to the insurance world. But they plug into your phone system and literally listen to how your clients are talking, and they populate a centimeter score, they call it, like sentiment, but centimeter score. So it's like Net Promoter Score on steroids, because then they pump in like survey data and how many times are they contacting you for these things. And then they listen to how your client is, their voice inflection and all that, and literally populating a real-time score. It's like, hey, cool. This client's kind of ticked. You might want to call back or send them some donuts or something. Or on the positive side, if this client's been very happy with you, maybe it's time to call them and open up a new discussion with them. So it just kind of blew my mind when I was...
We regularly do surveys too after all of our engagements and stuff, any chance that we can get, because if we're not doing something well, we want to know. And then we get right away, right in front of it, how can we make this better for you? Where did we drop the ball? And then put in the practices in place to fix it.
I think it's super important.
That's intriguing though about the listening though. I wonder how clients would take that. Hey, my call's like if you'd have to be upfront with them about that, like, oh, by the way, we're listening.
I don't know. I think I know that call recording and everything is different in every state. So it's by state. You got to be really careful. But I don't know how or if they do anything to like get around that, or if they have to, because it's just a system that's listening, not a. And I don't know if they're not recording the conversation.
Okay. That's curious. That's really interesting.
It just kind of blows my mind that that's where we're at.
I have to disclose that there was a third party on the phone. I don't know.
I don't know either, but
I'm
just telling you that.
So that's a perfect example of technology. I mean, there's so many things coming out everywhere you look that just help us be better advisors to our clients. We
think about it, at least I've tried to think about it and isolate it in my head. It's like, automate everything that you can that does not add to the client experience and your value.
For sure. I completely agree with that.
Yes. They don't care. If you're banking on the relationship and you're making that strong.
Because then you're freeing up so much of your time to do those other things for your client.
They could care less how you're running your back office.
Exactly. So and there's so much like Power BI and some data analytics stuff that you can use and leverage, and just, I mean, it's pretty slick.
It is pretty cool working with Garrett on that stuff.
Yep.
All right. Well, we are probably way over time with Big Al. He's on us, but. No, that was great.
Thanks for coming in.
Every one of these, we're like, gosh, we could keep going for hours.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get into the weeds with tax stuff maybe, but maybe we'll save that for another time.
I see your stack of printouts that you want to make sure you're on top of.
I get those notes.
Yeah, well, hey, too bad you printed those, because it's probably changed.
That was about 12 hours ago. It certainly has changed.
All right, well, thanks for coming in. That was good.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Past the Premium. We are excited to continue breaking down barriers and finding solutions together. If you would like to reach out regarding anything you heard in today's episode, find links and contact info in the description. Until next time, have a great day, and let's continue getting past the premium.